Hi folks, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dave the Maverick Beekeeper. So I've been doing a series of disease of the day, and I've sort of decided to come away from that for a while at least, because it's probably doing people's heads in. So I'm going to do something slightly different today, and I'll give you a clue. Here's the first photograph. Here's the second one. Any ideas? Maybe not. I'm going to talk about the old-fashioned beehives, not the hairstyle, but we're talking about the SKEP. So we're going to do a little bit of a brief history, just to break things up from disease of the day. Any comments about disease of the day, don't forget to put in the comment section below whether you enjoyed it, you found it useful, you want me to change the format, or you've had enough and you want to do something slightly different. That's fine, no worries. So let's get on with it. We'll talk about the SKEP. The first known human beekeepers weren't, in a sense, beekeepers, but foragers of wild honey. In the Cave of the Spider near Valencia, Spain, is a cave painting dating from 9000 BC, clearly depicting a brave fella climbing a tree to stick his hand directly into a beehive. The prehistoric artist even sketched a few honeybees buzzing around him. Domesticated beekeeping was a common practice throughout the ancient world, starting at least as early as 2500 BC in Egypt, and as likely even earlier in China. Depictions of beehives and honeypots and beekeepers using smoke to calm bees were found on the walls of a sun temple of an Egyptian pharaoh. And also found was intact clay and straw hives from as early as 900 BC were discovered in archaeological sites in Israel. Aristotle wrote about beekeeping and bee behaviour in his book, and the Chinese statesman and philosopher Fan Li explained the benefits of a wooden hive in his Golden Rules of Business Success, circa 500 BC. The first domesticated beehives were fashioned from hollowed out stumps and trees and fallen logs, which were natural destinations, as we all know, for swarming honeybees. To harvest the honey, the hive would be cleared of bees and destroyed, the comb squeezed to extract the golden goodness. Around 2000 years ago, beekeepers began using the first artificial beehives called SKEPs. SKEPs looked like overturned pots and were made of either baked clay or woven straw. A small hole near the bottom of the SKEP allowed the bees to come and go, and the comb was laid down inside. Even though SKEPs are rarely used outside of the developing world, the enduring image of the beehive and of hard-working industry is still a woven straw kep. The use of a kep unfortunately still required the destruction of the hive and often the death of the entire colony. This was to harvest the honey, so beekeepers began looking for alternative hive designs. So this is when wooden hive boxes became more common in the 18th century, leading to Francois Huber's movable hive or leaf hive. This was comprised of a vertical stack of movable book-like leaves, each holding its own section of comb. Those containing honey and not brood could be removed without disrupting the colony, but Huber's design never really caught on. Moving on into the 19th century, other than apiarists with some sort of innovation, this would include Thomas Wildman, became experimenting with bar hives. Wooden hives that are equipped with a row of bars across the top, under which the bees build their comb in small hanging sections. Each section could conceivably be removed by lifting up the bar, but not without some effort. The sections of the comb would often get stuck together or to the side of the box, requiring a messy cutting job that destroyed the comb. Then came, stage left, Lorenzo Langstroth, and we're all familiar with Langstroth hives. He was a minister and an avid bee hobbyist from Pennsylvania, who is credited with discovering, and we all know this, bee space and revolutionising modern beekeeping. In the 1850s, Langstroth built a wooden hive based on his observation that bees would climb or build a comb in a space tighter than 1 centimetre, 3/8 of an inch. He invented a type of hanging bar hive with removable frames, spaced exactly 1 centimetre apart and 1 centimetre from the box walls. Frames heavy with honey could easily be removed without sticking to or disturbing neighbouring frames, something we are accustomed to already. Langstroth hives are still the most popular hives for professional beekeepers and hobbyists, and we'll talk more about the parts of the Langstroth hive in the beekeeping equipment section. But next, let's cover the basics of honeybee biology and colony structure. The 19th century saw this revolution in beekeeping practice completed through the perfection of the movable comb hive by Lorenzo Langstroth, a descendant of Yorkshire farmers who emigrated to the United States. Langstroth was the first person to make practical use of Huber's early discovery, and there was a specific spatial measurement between the wax combs, later called the bee space, which bees do not block with wax but keep as a free passage. Having determined this bee space between 5 and 8 millimeters, that's 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch, Langstroth then designed a series of wooden frames with a rectangular hive box, carefully maintaining the correct space between successive frames, and found that the bees would build parallel honeycombs in the box without bonding them to each other or to the hive walls. This enables the beekeeper to slide any frame out of the hive for inspection without harming the bees or the comb, and protecting the eggs, larvae, pupae contained within those cells. It also meant that combs containing honey could gently be removed and the honey extracted without destroying the comb. The emptied honeycombs could then be returned to the bees intact for refilling. Langstroth's classic book, The Hive and the Honeybee, published in 1853, described his rediscovery of the bee space and the development of his patent movable comb hive. The intervention and development of the movable comb hive fostered the growth of a commercial honey production on a large scale in both Europe and the USA. Well folks, hopefully you enjoyed that brief history of the SKEP and development of hives that are currently being used across the world. If you like, thumbs up please, like and subscribe and comment if there's anything I've missed or you think you can be included. Again, as I said before, I've come away from Disease of the Day just for a while so that I can do some other stuff. Okay, so that's that. News. Can you remember from previous videos I did say about if anything happened that was unusual, mistakes and warts and all, I would show what happened? Well, something has happened and I can't believe it. My bee shed at home, the roof has decided to depart company from high winds. When I put it up in the summer, it was great. One thing I forgot to do, screw the roof on. What an idiot. So it survived the 100-mile winds initially, early in the year, and then a lesser wind today decided to work its wonders on the roof and it disappeared over the back, and it was my fault. So, nightmare. But there's been a team of helpers to get the roof, retrieve the roof, break it down again, and there's a chap coming tomorrow to fix the roof, get it on there once and for all. I can't believe it, but it's happened. So that's the bad bit of news anyway. So, other news. I've received another publication, and if you remember from an earlier video, I did a review on a couple of books. Now this has arrived, and it is pollen recognition from a chap called Mohammed El Laban. Very expensive book, in fact, but it should be a one-off purchase. So once I've looked at it, I'll throw up a wee review just to give you an idea of what it's like, what information is contained therein. What I've also got arriving at home, or has arrived I should say, is a gas vat, which I'll review that as well. So that's the bad news, and that's the good news stuff. I still can't believe about the shed though, nightmare, but you live and learn. So I hope you enjoyed the history of the SKEP and development of hives over the years. As before, like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff, and if there's any ideas, anything you want me to cover, then please do. The feedback on Disease of the Day has been pretty good, and it's been useful for some folk. As I said before, it's been useful for me as a learning tool, and certainly other people are benefiting from it as well, so I'm happy with that. So I'll see you on the next video, and again, thanks to everybody, and I'll see you on the flip side of the brood frame. Cheerio.